Welcome to Otakuverse, the sanctuary of Dunton. The night over Dunton. Sanctuary was shattered by the piercing shriek of rusted iron. A cloaked figure, Helen, stood before the magnificent gates, her hand resting on the small shoulder of a boy named Rowan. The grating cry of the gate echoed again as the warden on the other side scratched his head in irritation. He clicked his tongue. Who could it be at this hour? Peering through the bars, his voice was as cold as the iron he stood behind. "Go back, we're full. We can't take anyone else." The bolt slid shut with a final, unforgiving clang. "Please." Helen's voice was a desperate whisper. "We have nowhere else to go." A pale, trembling hand emerged from beneath her cloak, and as she spoke, she revealed a badge resting in her palm, intricately engraved with the design of a spider's web. "I beg you, just hear me out." The warden's gaze froze upon the emblem. A heavy silence fell between them as he scrutinized the sigil, its web-like pattern speaking a language he understood. With a resonant groan, the heavy iron bolt was drawn back. "Follow me." As the gate swung open, a child's face was revealed in the dim light, his blue eyes wide with a silent astonishment. A cold draft swept in, carrying the chill of the deep night. Helen took Rowan's hand, and together they followed the warden into the depths of the courtyard. "The hour is late," the warden stated, his voice flat as he led them into a stark building. "We'll discuss the sanctuary's rules and fees tomorrow." He pushed open a door and gestured them inside. "This is as far as I go." Helen bowed repeatedly, her gratitude spilling out in hurried whispers. "Thank you, thank you." She helped Rowan to the edge of a small bed. "Sit here," she said softly, her touch gentle on his shoulder, her eyes full of a profound pity. "You must be exhausted." Rowan looked up, his face a portrait of innocence. "Where are Mama and Papa?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Helen's lips pressed into a thin line. "They will be here soon," she soothed, stroking his hair. "For now, you must sleep. Rest well tonight." He nodded obediently and lay down, the moonlight casting a silver glow across the room. As Rowan drifted into sleep, Helen sat beside him, a silent guardian. The stillness was broken by a suppressed cough. She clutched her chest, her breath catching in ragged gasps. When she pulled her hand away, her palm was slick with crimson. "Please," she breathed, her body racked with another violent cough, blood spattering the floor. "You must find happiness." With a final shuddering gasp, she collapsed. In his sleep, Rowan murmured her name. "Helen, are you asleep?" He slowly opened his eyes to see her slumped motionless over the bed. His gaze fell upon the blood on her hands, and a cold, primal fear seized him. He began to tremble, a sob catching in his throat. "Helen!" he cried, lunging forward to shake her, but she did not move. The next morning, the warden stood at the door, his arms crossed in disgust. "Damn it all," he sneered. "What a nuisance dying here." A woman beside him sighed. "What will we do with the boy?" The warden's eyes fell on Rowan. "His hair, it's the same color as Pauline's. Let them be a pair. They'll look the part of a pitiful mother and son." Just then, Pauline appeared in the doorway. "Ah, perfect timing," the warden said. "From today, he's with you." Pauline found Rowan sitting on the edge of the bed, his head bowed. "Yes, sir," she answered quietly. "This isn't a charity, you know," the warden added with a sneer before turning to leave. The other woman murmured, "Together, they should be able to earn a decent amount." Dunton Sanctuary, though nominally a royal charity sustained by grants, was in truth a wicked place. Under the guise of responsibility fees, it exploited orphaned children for profit. Pauline's reflection appeared in Rowan's downcast eyes. She approached the bed and cleared her throat gently. "Hello," she said. "What's your name? I'm Pauline. From now on, you'll be with me." Rowan remained silent, his head bowed low. "I don't know what you've been through," she said, sitting beside him, "but one thing is certain. You must survive." As she spoke, the world around them seemed to bloom with ethereal white lilies. "If you endure, a chance for happiness will one day find you." She extended her hand. "Let's go." Rowan looked up, his gaze falling upon her outstretched hand. After a moment's hesitation, he reached out and took it. "Okay," he whispered. From that day forward, Rowan began a new life, begging in the arms of the woman he called Mother Pauline. Though their bond was a fiction crafted for sympathy, she cared for him deeply, protecting him from the cruelty of the other children and the menace of the streets. With her by his side, he never felt alone. 5 years passed. Pauline sat on a park bench, a weariness in her expression. "Mother Pauline!" A cheerful voice cut through the quiet. An 8-year-old Rowan ran towards her, carrying a bucket, his face bright with a smile. "You've worked hard," she said as he sat beside her. "Come, sit." "You've worked hard too, Mother Pauline," he replied, his eyes falling to the bucket. A shadow crossed his face. "I heard this morning that you'll be leaving soon." Pauline's smile faded. "Yes," she said softly. "I'm to become a handmaiden in a nobleman's house." Rowan's face instantly broke into a wide grin. "That's wonderful. With your talents, you'll do well wherever you go." She laughed, pulling him into an embrace and ruffling his hair. "Stop worrying about me and think about yourself for a change." "Ha ha 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 ha, you're messing up my hair," he laughed, squirming in her arms. A bittersweet sorrow tinged her smile. "For these 5 years, thank you, Rowan." His mind drifted back. "When Helen left, I thought I had lost everything. When the other children bullied me, when vagrants threatened me, you were always there." He rested his head on her shoulder. "I should be happy for you. You're going to a better place. But I can't stop the tears. First Mama and Papa, then Helen. And now Mother Pauline was leaving too." "Rowan," she said, her voice gentle but firm. She took his face in her hands. "Look at me. Just because someone is not by your side, it doesn't mean you are alone. You are only truly alone when this place," she touched his chest, "becomes empty. If you hold the ones who have left in your heart, and you look inside yourself, you will see how much they cared for you, how much they loved you. So when you feel lonely, close your eyes and feel what is here." A single tear traced the path down her cheek. "I will always be with you." The warm sun vanished, replaced by a deep, melancholic blue. Pauline was gone. Rowan stood alone in the woods, her final words echoing in his mind. "She said to look inside my heart when I feel lonely." He slowly closed his eyes. "If I open my heart's eye, I can feel them, the ones who are precious to me." He placed a hand over his chest. A soft blue energy began to swirl from within him, coalescing into a sphere of gentle light. The heart's eye. Suddenly, the light erupted, engulfing him in a pillar that soared toward the heavens. His eyes snapped open, his blue irises now blazing with an otherworldly glow. Even with them closed again, he could see everything, the entire world vibrant and alive. "It's beautiful," he gasped. He could feel them all, Mama, Papa, Helen, and Pauline. Their presence was as real as the ground beneath his feet. He understood then. He was not alone. Folding his hands over his chest, a serene smile graced his lips as a tear escaped from the corner of his closed eye. "Thank you, Mother Pauline. I will never forget you." A year after Pauline's departure, the silhouette of the Erickson Magic Academy loomed in the morning light. "Everyone up! Time to work!" The shout shattered the morning peace. Rowan stood by the window of the dormitory. She must still be adjusting to her new life. "I wonder if she is well," He, like the other children, now begged alone. The warden had assigned him to Sector 1, the most lucrative area, and his earnings were high. His life was tolerable. "Hey, Rowan!" A hand clapped him on the shoulder. It was Blake, the gruff but kind manager of Sector 1. "Stay sharp out there today." He grinned. "Don't worry, I'll keep the riffraff away from you." Blake had taken a liking to Rowan after hearing his story. It was he who helped Rowan understand that the shimmering lights he saw were not just figments of his imagination, but mana, the pure energy of the world. "Thank you, Blake. I'm counting on you," Rowan replied with a trusting smile. He had come to rely on Blake, not just for protection, but because he saw it too, a dense, swirling cluster of light within Blake's core. A murky, yet powerful mana. Blake was a swordsman who could wield it. "Mana is the source of everything," Blake had explained. "Everyone breathes it, unknowingly influencing the world." He had warned Rowan not to experiment. "The wrong methods are dangerous." "But I can already see it," Rowan thought, sitting on the street corner, his hood pulled low. Clink. A few coins landed in his bowl. "Thank you," he said, looking up with a radiant smile. "Your heart is as beautiful as you are." The two ladies who had dropped the coins paused, stunned. "Oh my," one whispered to the other as they walked away. "How lovely." Rowan settled back, deciding to practice. "First, I must get used to seeing both the physical world and the world of mana at once." The outlines of the passers-by blurred, replaced by the vibrant, flowing colors of the mana within them. It still made him dizzy, this overlapping sight, but he was slowly adjusting. "Rowan!" Blake was back, his eyes widening at the nearly full bowl. "Wow, you've done well." "Thanks to the kindness of strangers," Rowan said. Blake's expression turned serious. "That's why you must be careful. There are plenty of people who resent seeing others do well. If you see anyone suspicious, you tell me immediately." "I will," Rowan promised. He decided it was best not to mention what he had been seeing since yesterday. Two strangers in the crowd, their mana blazing as brightly as Blake's. They watched him from a distance, then vanished over the rooftops in an instant. They didn't feel like a threat, and he knew he had to keep his ability a secret. Clink. "Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful day." His bowl was full. Time to head back to base. As he hurried through an alley, a flash of gold caught his eye. That color. It's them. Two figures stood on the rooftops on either side, watching him. "They're following me. What do they want?" A chill ran down his spine, one behind, one to the side. He clutched the bowl and broke into a run, his heart hammering against his ribs. "I have to get to Blake." A dark shape dropped from the sky, blocking his path. Another landed behind him, cutting off his escape. He was trapped. "No," he whimpered. "Not like this." "Rowan!" Blake's voice cut through his terror. He was sprinting towards them, a blur of motion. With a final powerful push, he launched himself into the air. "Blake!" Rowan cried out as Blake snatched him up into his arms. "Hold on tight," Blake commanded, landing gracefully before taking off again. The two figures were in pursuit. "We'll head for the sanctuary," he grunted, running. "And don't you dare drop that money, or it's no dinner for you." He glanced down and saw Rowan's eyes were distant, his body limp with shock. "Rowan? What's wrong with him?" Back within the sanctuary walls, Blake set him down. "Rowan, you go inside. The other children will be brought back for safety. You just rest, you hear me?" He flicked Rowan's forehead. "Hey, snap out of it. They can't get you in here." "Yes," Rowan stammered. "You be careful, too." As Blake's footsteps faded, Rowan leaned against the door, his heart still racing. But it wasn't from fear. It was from exhilaration. "I saw it," he thought, covering his face with his hands. "In his arms. I saw everything." He had seen how the mana flowed through Blake's body as he moved, how it rippled, and condensed in his limbs when he gathered his strength, how it exploded and dissipated when he leaped across the rooftops. He finally understood. He took a deep, steadying breath, drawing the invisible energy into his body, circulating it, gathering it. He knew how to use it now. A confident smile spread across his face. He could hardly wait to try. The children were gathered in the main hall, whispering anxiously. "What's happening?" one asked. "I don't know," Rowan replied. "They're bringing everyone back." The doors burst open. "Silence," the warden commanded. "There is nothing to worry about. An inspection is underway. You will all remain quietly in your rooms until it is over." His cold gaze landed on Rowan. "And you, pack your things. You're moving." Rowan followed the warden across the courtyard to the main building, where a man named Diego waited. As the two men spoke in low tones, Rowan closed his eyes and focused his newfound power. "Mana, gather in my ears. Moving a beggar from the dorms to the main building?" Diego was saying. "The warden has a soft spot for his looks, I think," the warden replied. "Wants to keep him safe inside the walls after the incident in Sector 1 today." "You mean the guild members?" "Yes. 2 runners were involved." "The guild? Runners? 2 of them," Rowan thought. Could they be talking about... "Hey, you!" a voice snapped him out of his thoughts. It was Diego, beckoning him. "Come with me." Diego led him down a long hall and knocked on a door. "Amy?" A woman sat at a desk inside. "This is Rowan," Diego said, pushing him forward. "From the dorms. He'll be in your care. Doesn't know how to read, apparently." With that, he left. Amy looked Rowan up and down, her arms crossed. "How old are you?" "Almost 10. "And you really can't read?" He shook his head. "I figured," she sighed, "as expected from a dorm child. Starting tomorrow, I will be your teacher. You will call me Teacher Amy." She paused, her expression softening slightly. "You seem quiet for one of them." "Excuse me," Rowan ventured. "Why are you teaching me to read?" "You don't even know about the Reading Society," she scoffed. "It's an event for our patrons. A child reads aloud to them. If you're lucky and you read well, you get chosen for a special reading. And if that goes well, you might get adopted." "Adopted? It must sound like a fairy tale to you," she said, seeing his expression. She reached out and gently stroked his hair. "Come," she said, leading him to a room where 4 other children were waiting. "This is Rowan. He's from the dorms. Behave yourselves. Your bed is over there." A blue-haired boy approached him. "Wow, you're really from the dorms? I'm Theo." He introduced the others, Noah, Hayden, and Lily. "You don't have to beg anymore," Theo explained. "The children from the main building manage the library. That's our job." "The library?" Rowan's eyes lit up. "Let's give a warm welcome to Rowan," Theo declared, and the others clapped. That night, Rowan lay in bed, his mind racing. A library, a world of knowledge waiting in books. He could almost hear Pauline's warm voice. "Oh, Rowan, you with your curious mind, you would love to read." "My wish came true, Pauline." Time passed. Rowan was in the library, holding a thick volume. "Rowan," Teacher Amy called. "Bring me the books you read today for inspection." He brought a stack to her desk. She read the titles aloud. "The Earwig is Not Lonely," "Baelish the Sage," "The Golden Pig's Delicious Poop," "The Fluffy Bride." Her expression soured. "Enough fairy tales. You can start on the novels in Section 2. His heart leaped. "Section 2. "Teacher," he asked, "may I stay and read a little longer?" She waved him away with a smile. "Go on." He eagerly entered the second section, Books for Adults. His eyes scanned the shelves, landing on a title that made him pause. The Kingdom of Grafton and the Birth of the Guild. He pulled it from the shelf. The book told of a world reorganized after a long war, of a kingdom established to maintain peace, and of an organization created by the king to ensure it, the Guild. They're supposed to be the good guys, he thought, confused. So why would someone like Blake be running from them? The book confirmed one thing. The sanctuary and the guild were not on good terms. And for some reason, the sanctuary was keeping the events of that day a secret. What are they hiding? Rowan dusted the high shelves, mana flowing effortlessly through him as he moved. He had practiced constantly, learning to circulate his power while walking, reading, working, but the concentration of his mana wasn't increasing. It was frustrating, but he resolved to be patient. "Gather round," the vice warden announced one afternoon. She stood beside Amy, surveying the children. "Today's readers will be Theo, Lily, Noah, and Rowan." He froze. "Yes, ma'am." "You've only just finished the fairy tales," the vice warden said, leaning in close. "But having you there will certainly make for a pretty picture." She patted his cheek. "You'll just observe today. Learn the atmosphere." "Thank you for your consideration," he said, bowing. Dressed in a fine suit, Rowan looked completely transformed. "You look amazing, Rowan," Theo exclaimed. "You can sit there," Amy instructed, pointing to a seat at the long table where the children were assembled. Soon, the guests arrived, a group of noblewomen who sat opposite them. One of them, a blonde lady, gasped when she saw him. "My goodness, it's you!" She remembered him, the boy from the street corner last winter, the one who had told her that her heart was beautiful. Rowan stood and bowed politely. "Hello. It is a pleasure to see you again. I have always been grateful for your help that day." "You're doing well, then?" Lady Caroline said, delighted. The vice warden looked on, surprised. "You know our Rowan, Lady Caroline?" "His name is Rowan?" she asked. "Yes, I met him last winter when he was begging at the Briar Crossroads." She gazed at Rowan, a silent admiration blooming in her heart. He had been beautiful then, but now he was magnificent. The vice director smiled. "It's all thanks to the generous support of everyone here," she said, her voice warm. "Rowan also learned to read in this very place." A glint appeared in Mrs. Caroline's eyes. "Oh my!" she exclaimed. "In that case, could we possibly have Rowan do the reading for us today?" She held up the book in her hands. The vice director hesitated. "Ah," she stammered. "Rowan is only here to observe today." A look of disappointment washed over Mrs. Caroline's face. "Is that so?" she murmured. "What a pity. I was so looking forward to hearing his voice." The vice director pondered for a moment before turning to Rowan. "Well," she asked, "would you like to try the last chapter, just as a little trial?" Rowan's face lit up. "Yes, yes," he said eagerly. "I would be delighted. Let's do it." A few moments later, Rowan stood before the table. He never expected to be in this position again. "I tried not to remember," he began, his voice a soft murmur. "But it keeps resurfacing in my mind. I don't know why this feeling suddenly came over me. It just happened. I didn't intend for this, but my heart has a will of its own. So I've decided to speak." He lifted his head, his gaze sweeping over the ladies seated across from him. His eyes held a mixture of shyness and sincerity. "I like you," he confessed. The ladies were struck. A collective sigh of enchantment escaped their lips, their faces flushed with a blissful, rosy hue. He infused his voice with magic, breathing life into the words on the page. Faced with Duke Rouget's calm confession, Villetta was at a loss, not even daring to meet his gaze. She tried to look away. Every sound in the room reached Rowan's ears, the faint whisper of a breath like a sigh, the soft slide of a tear against skin, the gentle bite of a lower lip, even the distinct rhythm of each individual heartbeat. Applause erupted. Mrs. Caroline beamed, her face a mask of pure delight. "That was a truly elegant time," she gushed. "A truly wonderful reading." Rowan bowed his head in gratitude. "Thank you," he said. "It's all thanks to the vice director's help." "How can you speak so beautifully?" she marveled. Could I possibly hear another reading tomorrow? The vice director immediately agreed. Of course, she said. I will prepare more. Back in the second library, Rowan replayed the experience in his mind. In the end, he mused, it's my body that's channeling the flow of magic. He pulled a book from the shelf, The Laws and Principles of Phenomenal Movement and the Human Body. Then, Basic Medical Anatomy, Volume 1. Another book caught his eye, one that might be helpful. He reached for a red leather-bound volume. As he was engrossed in the text, a voice came from behind him. An understanding of sexiness. Rowan jumped. Ah! You startled me, Blake. Blake chuckled. Not startled, he corrected. You knew I was here, didn't you? He laughed heartily. Don't pretend you're not interested. At your age, it's only natural to be curious about such things. Is something wrong? Rowan asked. Blake's smile widened. Nothing at all, he said. I heard you were the star of the donation reading today. I'm disappointed I couldn't hear it for myself. I heard you were in the library, so I came to see your face. After all, you're still on duty. Yes, Rowan replied. It's been a bit busy lately. Is there something you need? Rowan asked, his curiosity piqued. Blake crouched down, his voice dropping to a low whisper. You know those guys who were after you before? They're causing trouble again, so I'm planning to take care of them with the administrators. Rowan's lips curved into a smile. The union? He asked. If you're involved, Blake, those guys will surely learn their lesson. Blake blinked, then burst out laughing. What? Ah ha ha ha, hearing you say that makes me feel much better. He ruffled Rowan's hair. It's a shame I can't make it to your reading tomorrow, but according to what I read last time, Rowan thought, Blake is very likely a villain, but he's so nice to me. Blake pinched Rowan's cheek. As soft as a baby's, he murmured. So, Rowan wondered, should I call him a good person? A warm confusion settled in his heart. Clutching the book, Rowan said, It's all right. There will be other chances. I have a feeling we'll be doing readings more often from now on. He looked up at Blake. In any case, be careful, Blake. Blake waved a dismissive hand. Yes, yes, he said. You just do your best. He tucked the red book under Rowan's arm. Read this when you're not at a reading. Don't waste your energy. Ha 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 ha. Well, I'm off. Blake's figure disappeared through the doorway. The Union and Blake? Rowan murmured, gazing out the window thoughtfully. A battle between those who have mastered magic. What would that be like? He looked down at his own hands. Just, how strong am I now? Can I even compare to them? He closed his eyes, concentrating his magic on the book held to his chest. A faint light emanated from it. Suddenly, the book was torn in two. Ah! Oh no! Rowan cried, dropping to his knees. He stared at the two halves of the book before him. What a waste! Rowan knocked on the vice director's door. Is that Rowan? Come in. Rowan entered the room. You wanted to see me, vice director? The vice director sighed. The thing is, she began, Mrs. Caroline and the other ladies were quite insistent. They strongly requested that you be the main reader today. If possible, please let him perform solo, they said. I don't want to hear any distracting noises. He will, won't he? The vice director tried to explain, her voice strained. That child. A cold sweat trickled down her back. She had no choice but to agree. I'll do my best, she told them. She looked at Rowan, her face etched with exhaustion. So that's the situation. Do you think you can do it? Rowan answered with confidence. Yes, I'll try. Don't worry, Vice Director. You're such a good boy, she said, a hint of relief in her voice. The Vice Director stood before the children, clearing her throat. All right, everyone, settle down. As you may have heard, we will be announcing a special reader today. This time, the special reader is Theo. Theo looked stunned. Me? Yes, let's all congratulate him. Applause filled the room. Rowan clapped along with the others. I thought it would be Rowan, someone whispered. Congratulations, Theo. Theo flushed, a little embarrassed. Thank you, Rowan, he said. You're so good at reading. You'll have your chance soon. Rowan watched as Theo left, walking alone across the courtyard. Take care, he murmured. The other children watched him from the window. He's a good kid, one of them said. It's a bit of a shame. But the thought didn't linger. Such partings were inevitable. I came to hold your hand, Rowan read. He had so much more to say, but he was busy reading for all who came to hear him. The vice director looked at the schedule in her hands. Rowan, she said, you have readings this morning and this afternoon. Will you be all right? Rowan was surprised. So, I'm reading twice in one day? The vice director sighed. It will be tough, but what can we do? Everyone wants to hear you read. Rowan smiled. I'm truly grateful, he said. As long as everyone enjoys it, I'm happy. But, he thought, the emotional drain after reading is so intense. Why do I feel like I'm seeing cat ears? May I go out for some fresh air during my break? He asked. Of course, the vice director replied. Go ahead, but don't go beyond the backyard. Rowan stood at attention. Understood. Thank you, vice director. He went out to the backyard, closed his eyes, and began to circulate his magic. He recalled the knowledge from the books, marking the locations of muscles, joints, and bones, just as described. He connected them with lines, like tracing blood vessels, and then, along that path, he let his magic flow. Willpower is crucial, he reminded himself. To move magic with the body requires not just thought, but a powerful will. A dazzling bolt of electricity erupted from him, illuminating the entire courtyard. Rowan slowly exhaled, retracting his power. Everything else is fine, he thought. The real problem is the concentration of magic. Is it a problem with my body as a vessel? He shouldn't be hasty. It was more important to ensure that he didn't develop the same weaknesses as others when using magic. When Blake had carried him to the relief shelter, he could barely walk on his own. Even the union members couldn't keep up. They must have been exhausted. There seemed to be a common weakness in using stored magic. Is there a way, he pondered, to use external magic as if it were my own? I did produce a voice filled with magic, didn't I? With that voice, I even pushed back external magic. He picked up a leaf. If I think about it carefully, he reasoned, if it has weight or form, it should be possible. He infused the leaf with magic. It floated gently in the air, just as I thought. He watched the levitating leaf, a smile spreading across his face. This time's special reader is Lily, the vice director announced. Let's give her a round of applause. The children gathered around Lily. Congratulations, Lily. Stay safe and healthy out there. Lily thanked them in a small voice. Thank you. She approached Rowan, her fingers nervously twisting together. Is there something you want to say? Lily mustered her courage, her cheeks turning a deep red. Rowan, actually, I like, but it was strange. Rowan and another girl were watching from the side, whispering. Lily's nice and all, but I didn't expect Rowan to be skipped over. The director won't let him go. Haven't you heard the story of the goose that lays the golden eggs? Ah, so they're keeping him because he's profitable. Lily's face was etched with worry. Rowan snapped back to the present. Ah, I'm sorry, Lily. Could you say that again? Lily hurriedly waved her hands. Nothing. The girls around Lily giggled. Lily, your face is as red as a tomato. Rowan gazed out the window. They say if you can leave, you can go to a good family. Then you can read new books, experience a wider world, and maybe even find clues about magic accumulation. I don't know when that will be, but I'm a little curious. The next day, behind the main building, two pencils spun in the air, clashing against each other. Rowan was practicing his magic in the backyard. It's simple now. All right. If I keep practicing like this, suddenly he sensed an unusual presence. He looked up. A figure was perched on the wall. It's that person, the director who brought me here. The director suddenly fell from the wall, landing on the ground with a painful thud. He knelt, clutching his side. Damn it all! Rowan saw his magic dissipating. What's wrong? Diego ran over. Excuse me. He helped the director up. The director looked shocked. Ah, he muttered, cursing under his breath. Damn it, what's going on? Those union bastards. The union? Diego helped the director away, then turned to Rowan. Hey, you! Just pretend you didn't see anything and go back inside. Ah, okay, Rowan replied. He watched them leave. What's going on? Something feels wrong. Amy burst into the room, her voice loud and urgent. The afternoon garden reading is canceled. Everyone, back to your dorms. The children stared at her, bewildered. So suddenly? We've already sent the sponsors home, Amy urged. Do as I say. The children exchanged confused glances. What's going on? This has never happened before. Amy approached Rowan, her voice low. And Rowan, get ready. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You are the special reader. Rowan straightened his collar. He remembered Amy's words. Get ready. You're a special reader. Her expression was more serious than usual. The union did that to the dorm administrator. This might be related to the sudden cancellation of the sponsored reading. He wasn't sure, but... Miss Amy, Rowan called out. Are we going directly to the sponsor? He felt a sense of unease. Something was definitely wrong at the relief shelter. Amy looked at him. Oh, it's nothing. Miss Amy? Amy turned around. Yes, follow me. The two of them walked down the corridor. Rowan asked, was it Mrs. Caroline who requested the adoption? No, Amy replied. It was someone else. Who? Rowan asked, puzzled. Amy didn't answer. She opened a door and led Rowan through the woods to a secluded building. The relief shelter annex. We're here. Rowan felt a sinister aura. This building, it's filled with dark and murky magic. Diego stood at the door. Welcome, Rowan, he said. We're in a hurry, so let's get started. He placed a hand on Rowan's shoulder. Miss Amy's face... Rowan noticed that Amy's complexion was pale. The door slowly closed with a heavy thud. I thought it was strange that this building didn't have any windows, but it's even darker in here than I imagined. Just in case, I can't let my guard down. Rowan heard the director's voice. Is it really necessary to do this while we're preparing to escape? That was the vice director's voice. If we want to at least recoup some of our losses before we evacuate, we have to do this. That damned ritual has those conditions. What other choice do we have? Just sit in that chair over there and read, Diego said. Okay, Rowan replied. Escape, he thought. Are they running away because of the union incident from before? And a ritual? What could that be? Rowan walked over to the chair. Am I supposed to read this book? He sat down, placing the book on his lap. Anyway, what is that pit? Is there something in it? Magic. I've never seen such a huge mass of magic. Rowan, begin, Diego commanded. Read, begin. Rowan began to read. Under the dawn sky, lightning hung. Ariel gazed at the man lying on the bed. That pit. I feel a huge amount of magic, but this is unusual. I can feel both a huge, formless magic and a sudden meeting. But it was precisely because of this that they could be more honest with each other. Rowan felt a flood of emotions. Joy, longing, regret, loneliness, anger, relief, sadness. He suddenly understood. Ah, that mass of magic. It's the person listening to the special reading. Where have you been all this time? My faith was about to crumble. What's going on? The more I read, the more the magic in my body is being sucked into that pit. No, I can't let all my magic be absorbed. I have to endure. If the relief shelter is on the run, the union will come. Diego stood at the door, concentrating. I need to absorb the floating magic around me and control the flow. His reading voice became more resonant. Blue magic surged from him, intertwining with the black magic in the pit. The powerful energy sent him and the chair flying. I did it! I can completely control the flow of magic, Rowan continued to read. Come closer, Violetta said in a trembling voice. Now I just need to buy time. If I don't feel any new magic approaching, it means the union hasn't reached this building yet. Let's drag this reading out for as long as possible. The director and vice director whispered in the distance. Isn't he reading for too long? Has this book always been this long? Yeah, there should have been a result by now. This isn't right. I have to go check. I'll go with you. The director and vice director started to move. Have I bought enough time? Rowan suddenly sensed something. They're here. The door was thrown open. The director and his group rushed in. They saw Rowan unharmed and breathed a sigh of relief. Those fools! Diego cursed. What? Rowan stood up. They all went underground. He walked to the edge of the pit. What's down there? A scream echoed from below. The director was being choked, struggling in terror. Diego! What's happening? Suddenly, Diego grabbed the director by the collar, roaring, You rats! What have you done wrong? You must have done something to be running away! The vice director stammered. No, it's not. We just... Diego dragged them down a spiral staircase. A trail of purple magic extended from the stairs. Rowan followed the trail, slowly descending. He saw a statue made of countless twisted human figures. A tree? No, that's not a tree. This is Mama Pauline? Rowan was stunned. You little rat! Diego roared. Diego, what the hell is going on? Why are all the supervisors dead? Blake had also arrived. He looked at Diego, demanding, Blake, they messed up? They suddenly ran, so I followed and saw this. Diego picked up a shriveled fruit. What? Why did the fruit turn out like this? I brought Rowan to try and get one more fruit before they arrived, but somehow it turned out like this. I don't know what happened to him. Blake pulled a sword from the statue. He gripped the hilt, raised the sword above his head, and swung it at the statue with all his might. Rowan remembered asking Blake once. Blake, why doesn't a swordsman have a sword? I was just using it somewhere else. Blake had grinned. His heart pounded in his chest. A metallic scent of blood filled the air. Agui-Yi Nord magic coated the blade of Blake's sword. He swung the sword, and a hand pressed down on Rowan's head. The next second, blood splattered. Rowan's figure was split in two. Blake whipped his head around in shock. What? A powerful blue magic erupted from Rowan's body. The ground cracked, and a massive shockwave of energy sent Blake flying back. Black slime dripped from the ceiling. A faint smile played on Blake's lips. He examined the blood-soaked longsword in his hand, a sinister purple aura coiling around the blade. A piercing scream shattered the silence. Blake snapped his head back, his voice a horrified whisper. What? His pupils contracted in terror, and he let out a sharp gasp. Blake slowly turned. A figure had appeared silently, standing in a bright light. It was Rowan. A smirk touched Blake's lips. It seems blood relations aren't just for show, he murmured, adding, but this is even more impressive than I expected. He let out a soft chuckle. Blue magic surged around Rowan, lifting his small body off the ground. You've awakened your magic? Blake's voice was filled with disbelief. He trembled, his voice barely a whisper. Young master? Blake's mind was in turmoil. He could only stare dumbly as Rowan turned and walked towards the statue. His slender back looked unusually composed. A foreboding purple aura emanated from the statue, filling the space between them. Rowan watched it all in silence. A hand reached out, gently caressing. A young Rowan buried his head in a woman's embrace, tears streaming from his green eyes. Warm memories rippled outwards, a current of warmth intertwining with the Tsiyen no blue light before him. The statue erupted in light. A powerful burst of magic exploded outwards. They let out a silent scream, their bones cracking under the force of the energy. The blue world was torn apart in an instant. A sharp, piercing scream stabbed into his mind. Rowan's consciousness plunged into a sea of fire. "What's going on?" He saw a child covered in bandages crying. Why is he crying? A body lay on the ground. Is that blood? A burning city and bodies everywhere. What are these terrible memories? Rowan stood before the smoldering ruins, his feet on a carpet of fallen bodies. He felt a wave of confusion. This is... He turned, his green eyes reflecting the flames. A younger version of himself stood before him. The scene before him suddenly shattered. Is that me? The blue light of reality pierced through the cracks in his memory. Rowan's consciousness was being pulled apart. No, a little more. I don't know what this is, but there is a familiar and warm magic, a magic he had been longing for. This memory, he remembered. Yes, I had forgotten. Pauline's gentle voice echoed in his heart. Rowan, you are only truly alone when this place is empty. If you hold on to those who have already left, it means you are not alone. As long as you remember the deceased and quietly look within yourself, you will see how much they cared for you, how much they loved you. The young Rowan looked up, his voice a soft whisper. How do I look inside myself? Pauline answered gently. Close your eyes and feel. Close your eyes and look within. In this sea of consciousness, Rowan closed his eyes. This magic was telling him not to lose what was precious. Even though time had stopped, his memories and love for his mother, Pauline, were eternal. Warm hands clasped together, two figures walking down a sunlit path. The warm memory gradually dissipated. Blake's voice shattered the silence. He looked down at Rowan. I think it's time to end this touching reunion, Rowan. He rested his sword on Rowan's shoulder. I'm getting a little impatient with all this waiting. Rowan remained silent. I waited for you because I wanted to take you with me, Blake continued, because you're smarter than you look. Although things got messed up by those idiots, but whatever. I'll just ask you directly. Do you want to come with me? Or do you want to die quietly here? It would be a waste to kill you. With your level of skill, you'll be useful sooner or later. Rowan finally spoke. Where are we going? Blake looked down at him, his voice casual. Probably to another farm. You'll manage those who will become trees and cultivate trees like the one in front of you. Simply put, you'll work under me. You'll become a member of Rethel. Rowan's eyes were cold. Rethel? He repeated. Blake smiled. That's the organization I belong to. Our leader plans to change the world with black magic, and we are his loyal servants. So, Rowan pressed, did you make the tree? Blake placed a hand on his hip, chuckling. What a scary expression. Do you think I have that kind of power? I'm just an interested observer of the high priest's creations. He urged him again. So, are you coming or not? There's no time. Rowan closed his eyes. A moment later, he opened them. I'm not going, he said calmly. Blake's expression changed. He whispered. Well then, there's no other way. He swung the sword at Rowan's neck. The blade stopped inches from Rowan's skin. Blue sparks of electricity erupted from Rowan, wrapping around the blade. Blake's pupils contracted in disbelief. Well, what? My sword! It won't move! Rowan's fingers gently pinched the tip of the sword. Blue electricity danced between his fingertips. Did you kill Mama Pauline? He asked coldly. Blake let out a derisive snort. So what if I did? He sneered. Are you going to avenge her? If that's true, Rowan's voice was devoid of any warmth. The magic around him exploded. With a sharp crack, the tip of the sword broke in his hand. I will never let you live, he declared. Blake's pupils dilated in shock. How is this possible? The broken tip of the sword flew like an arrow, grazing his cheek. He let out a cry of alarm. I told you to dodge, Rowan said calmly. Blake fell to one knee, his face a mask of disbelief. You bastard, he cursed. Before he could finish, he let out a grunt. Rowan's fingers had already pierced his shoulder. I hope you don't feel too wronged, Rowan's voice came from behind him. After all, you brought this on yourself. Blake clutched his wound, blood seeping through his fingers. He couldn't make a sound. Rowan's eyes were as cold as frost. I will never, he said, each word a shard of ice, forgive someone like you. Rowan stood before the terrifying tree made of countless bodies, the killing intent around him slowly dissipating. The broken sword tip traced a blue arc in the air, hovering beside him. The sound of footsteps broke the dead silence. Rowan whipped his head around. Light streamed down from the spiral staircase. A group of men in uniform descended. The man in the lead had short blonde hair and a beard. He was Oscar, the vice captain of the United Faith Department. Thoroughly search the entire area, he commanded. Leave no stone unturned. Yes, Vice Captain, his subordinates responded in unison. Oscar's gaze swept across the scene, finally landing on Rowan. He was slightly surprised. A child? He saw the sword tip hovering beside Rowan. A flicker of interest appeared in his eyes. An interesting ability. Is it telekinesis? What? Rowan asked, confused. Did you learn magic from Rethel? Oscar scrutinized him. Rowan shook his head. Magic? I've never learned it. And I'm not a member of Rethel. Never learned it? Oscar pressed. Then your magic? I'm self-taught, Rowan replied. The answer sounded absurd. Oscar was instinctively skeptical, but as he looked into the boy's eyes, his doubt quickly vanished. He doesn't seem to be lying, he thought. I am Oscar, Vice Captain of the United Faith Department, he said. What's your name? My name is Rowan, he answered. The Faith Department is in charge of intelligence and reconnaissance, and you use the Harmony sword style, right? You're wearing a gold badge, so you must be S-class. Am I right? This kid is extraordinary, Oscar thought. His swordsmanship is deadly, but he's cautious. Am I wrong? Oscar cleared his throat. Let's go outside first. Can you put that sword away? Rowan hesitated, then extended his hand. The sword tip transformed into a blue light and returned to his palm. To have this much magic at 10 years old, Oscar mused. It's unbelievable. Just then, a subordinate came forward to report. Vice Captain, I have something to report. It's about the tree. From the looks of it, it was formed less than 2 years ago, but the spell on it seems to have been broken. Broken? Oscar asked. If it was the high priest's doing, there should at least be a trace of it. Maybe Father Zion got here before us. The state of the fruit is also strange. We need to find out what happened. The people trapped in the tree murmured. I'm sorry, Theo. I should have played with you more. Lily, when you left, I should have been kinder to you. Rowan listened to these fragmented whispers, then turned to Oscar. Vice Captain, have you seen many trees like this one? Oscar was silent for a moment. Yes, he said. What will you do now? Rowan continued. He's going to go to more farms too, isn't he? Oscar was a little surprised. I thought he would be consumed by grief, he thought. Dismantling Rettel's farms is the Federation's mission, the boy's voice replied. It was uncannily calm for a child. Then Rowan spoke again. So, can you take me with you? A palpable, strong resolve emanated from him. Oscar saw it. The boy wasn't unshaken. He just wasn't good at showing it. Oscar turned away. The investigation is the priority. We'll decide what to do with you afterward. Follow me. Rowan trailed behind him, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous hall. He passed a fallen body. It was Mother Pauline. She lay motionless, a silver badge having slipped from her hand. Rowan picked it up and gripped it tightly. "We're good to go, Deputy Captain," a subordinate reported to Oscar. Oscar stood at the sanctuary's entrance with Rowan, listening to the report. The Pillar of Faith is undamaged. 13 Rettel affiliates are confirmed dead, along with 3 from the sanctuary. We estimate there are 2 escapees. It seems the high priests and executive-level members only participated in the initial ritual setup. The cause of the ritual's collapse is unknown. We've requested support from the 4th Division for a detailed analysis. Report complete. Oscar nodded. Good work. He turned to Rowan. Rowan, where do you feel most comfortable here? Rowan answered without hesitation. The library. Then that's where we should go, Oscar mused. This might be a long conversation. Lead the way. In the library, Oscar looked around. There were no books on mana cultivation or magic use. So, how did you teach yourself? I figured it out on my own, Rowan replied calmly. Oscar was incredulous. You figured it out yourself? Yes, Rowan affirmed. I'm very smart. Oscar paused. I can tell you're not lying, and you are indeed very smart, he said. Now continue. Tell me everything you've been through so far. Rowan was silent for a moment. Then he began to speak. It all started when I first came to the sanctuary. His words echoed in the quiet library as he recounted his experiences. At the end, Rowan concluded, So I believe it was Mother Pauline who gave me this power. Oscar nodded. I understand, but even so, a lot of things still don't make sense. A child who has never received any mana training easily killed Diego and Blake. I know Blake's strength very well, and this child also seems to have broken the ritual set by the Rettel High Priest. Even now, Rowan was using telekinesis without incantations or magic. The tip of his sword floated gently beside him, yet he showed no sign of fatigue. Such a genius couldn't have remained unknown for so long. Rowan interrupted his thoughts. Can I ask a question now? Oscar gestured for him to continue. Go ahead. What is the tree? Rowan asked. It's a dark magic ritual device created by Rettel, Oscar explained. It's based on human lives. The director and Rettel's people were talking about fruit. Are they eating it? Yes. It absorbs the mana from those lives and forms crystals. Those are the fruits. Because they are concentrated mana, they are extremely precious. This one here is what you were making at the time. Oscar took a shriveled fruit from his pocket. Do people eat this? Rowan asked. Yes, Oscar affirmed. Eating it instantly increases your mana reserves and sells for a high price on the black market. Why did you use reading sessions? Rowan asked, puzzled. Some magic rituals require specific conditions, Oscar explained. We believe the reading sessions helped stabilize the tree and improve the quality of the fruits. Rowan recalled the reading sessions. The tree was no different from the people listening to the stories. It seemed to be completely immersed in them. He mused, I guess it became stable. They're sentient, too. That's a very good insight, Oscar praised. We're investigating it from that angle as well. Rowan spoke again. Can I continue to ask questions? Oscar nodded. Go on. What is telekinesis? Rowan asked. It's a type of magic, Oscar explained. It's the magic of moving objects with mana, just like you're doing with the sword. So, that's a type of magic too, Rowan said thoughtfully. He spread his hands, and 2 broken pieces of a sword tip spun in the air. I don't know much about magic yet, Oscar thought. Even if it's only level 1 telekinesis, he's still amazing. You said you were 10, right? Oscar asked. Yes, Rowan replied. No, I'm 9. You also said you wanted to come with us, but I'm curious. You've been betrayed by the people who were good to you, so why would you trust the Federation? Rowan answered candidly. I don't completely trust you, but... He smiled. Based on my intuition, Deputy Captain Oscar seems like a good person. For some reason, you feel bright and pure. Oscar was a little taken aback. Me? Bright and pure? He thought. So you're willing to believe us and follow us just based on that? That's too reckless. I'm very good at reading people, Rowan said with confidence. Oscar's expression turned serious. But joining us isn't something to be decided on a whim. Even if I allowed it, we can't let an outsider interfere with Federation affairs. Is it because I'm not capable enough? Rowan retorted. I can use both mana and telekinesis. Oscar cut him off. Listen, Rowan, there are things more important than ability. Rowan looked disappointed. Oscar quickly explained, No, Rowan. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you. Making an exception isn't easy, and you're still too young. Rowan's eyes flashed with confusion. Is age more important than ability? Oscar looked at his determined eyes and was speechless for a moment. He thought, of course, his magical talent is a genius. The fact that he defeated Egan Blake is undeniable, but this is another matter. Regardless of ability, Oscar explained, the Federation constantly faces countless decisions, and most of them come from a wealth of experience. Experience is equivalent to a lifetime of... Rowan interrupted. So, because I lack both, you're saying my judgment is immature? We've only talked for a few hours after all. Oscar waved his hand. I didn't say that much, but... He rubbed his temples. Okay, let's treat this as a mock interview. Why did you kill Egg? He just captured you. He had already killed the director and his wife in that way, and he looked like he was about to crush my head, so I couldn't wait any longer. But ultimately, you killed 2 people. Can you say that no other thoughts influenced your decision? Rowan replied calmly. I have no intention of denying the brutality of my actions in the heat of the moment. It is an unchangeable fact. I accept the consequences of my actions. However, I believe that anger and grief actually helped me make a clearer judgment. What was your basis for that judgment? Oscar asked. Rowan's gaze fell on the tree made of corpses. He said softly, Too many people have been killed by him. Even if he regretted it, there's no one in this world who could forgive him. Most importantly, Rowan's voice became firm, I didn't have the right to give him a chance to live. Oscar's eyes sharpened. But do you have the right to kill him? Since he took other people's lives, I think it's fair, Rowan replied. And I just happen to have the ability to do it. He rubbed his eyes. However, it's true that I killed a person based on my own judgment. If someone holds me accountable for that, I will have no excuses. So, was it really necessary to kill him? Oscar asked again. Rowan looked up. Someone had to do it. His eyes shone with a blue light. Isn't that the reason the Federation exists? Oscar was stunned by his words and was speechless for a moment. Oscar slowly spoke. The Federation is an organization founded to achieve its fundamental purpose based on ultimate values. But in reality, the ideal the Federation dreams of is a world where you can feel at peace just by looking up at the sky. This is to ensure that future generations can also see hope and that the world's peace and stability can continue. This may be a goal that can never be fully achieved, but they have taken on this responsibility themselves. In a sense, this is the entire reason for the Federation's existence. It's not an exaggeration to say that everything about the Federation is contained in this, Oscar contemplated. I want to give him a high score for his insight and calm response, but that's not the answer someone his age should give. Have you heard of Graves? Oscar asked. Rowan was puzzled. Graves? They are beings who wander around threatening the peace and survival of the kingdom. Rettel is one of them. Now, the First Division is working hard to eradicate Rettel's farms all over the place and reorganize the Federation's branches. I don't know how long it will take, but if you can help, things might be different. Rowan asked in confusion. What do you mean? Oscar made a proposal. Go to the Federation, prove your ability, and we will recognize you as one of our own. Let's see if you can live up to my expectations. Outside the sanctuary gates, Oscar and Rowan were ready to leave. His eyes were filled with anticipation. Oscar announced to the members of the Federation, "Until now, the Denton Sanctuary has been exploiting homeless people and orphans with nowhere to go, and it has colluded with the dark cult Rettel to commit the serious crime of human sacrifice. Therefore, as the sword and scroll of the kingdom, the Federation has cleared out the lurking Rettel members and now aims to restore the Denton Sanctuary to a normal state. With that, if there are no questions, we will set off for the west after sunrise. The 4th Division will arrive and complete the handover before rejoining us." He turned to a black-haired woman. "Sienna." "Yes, Deputy Captain." Sienna stepped forward. Rowan noticed the flow of mana around her like a mist of undulating waves. "This is Rowan, a witness from the Denton incident," Oscar introduced. "Ensure he is safely escorted to the Federation." "I have received the order, sir." Sienna accepted the mission. She introduced herself to Rowan. "I'm a runner of the Pillar of Faith, Sienna." "Hello, I'm Rowan," he responded. "It will take about 2 weeks to get to the Federation," Sienna said. "It's a long journey. You should go pack your things." "It's okay," Rowan replied. "I don't have anything." "Once we leave, there won't be another chance," Sienna reminded him. "If you have any questions, ask now." Rowan thought for a moment. He asked curiously, "Runner Sienna, are you an elf?" "A dark elf." "But you're so bright," Rowan said in surprise. "I thought dark elves would be darker or more somber." Sienna looked a bit confused by this. Rowan quickly explained, "Please forgive me if my question or words were rude. It's just that you're the first dark elf I've met, and you feel very mysterious." Sienna thought, "Not amazing, but mysterious," Oscar said from the side. "That's probably because of your bloodline." "What?" Sienna asked in confusion. Oscar helped Rowan onto the horse. "All right, let's go. We'll see you at the Federation, Rowan." "I'll be waiting for you there, Deputy Captain Oscar," Rowan replied. He waved to everyone. "Everyone, please take care on the road." Oscar and his team couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. The night wind howled. Sienna rode forward, the sound of hoofbeats echoing in the quiet night as she took Rowan into the distance. Night fell. Rowan and Sienna rested by a campfire. Sienna handed Rowan something. "Here, I thought that broken sword might need a scabbard," Sienna explained, so she had been making this while camping. Rowan took the scabbard. "Thank you, Runner Sienna." "Runner sounds strange," Sienna said. "Then should I call you Big Sister?" Rowan immediately said. Rowan put the broken sword into the scabbard. He fastened it to his chest. "It's done," he said to Sienna with a smile. "I'll join the Federation soon. So how about I just call you Senior?" He smiled brightly. Sienna looked at him and was speechless for a moment. She turned her head away, a faint blush on her face. She whispered, "Whatever you want." Sienna looked at the broken sword beside Rowan. "Your power is really special," she said. "Is it?" Rowan asked in confusion. "Deputy Captain Oscar said it was telekinesis magic." Sienna shook her head. "I think it just looks like it. Maybe it's better to pretend it is." "Then what is my ability?" Rowan asked. "I've never seen such an ability either," Sienna replied. "A power that can directly touch and control mana without any incantations or chants. It's a power that only ancient elves might have." "Ancient elves?" Rowan asked, confused. "They were the original race before elves split into races like mine," she explained. She looked into Rowan's eyes. Just from your eye color, I can tell that your parents were extraordinary. Rowan's eyes dimmed. Parents, huh? He murmured. They fell into silence again, quietly watching the campfire. A brilliant streak of light flowed down from the treetops, like a river of stars pouring onto the ground. The sound of hoofbeats echoed on the forest path as Sienna rode through the dense woods. "Rowan," she called softly. Rowan turned his head to look at Sienna behind him. Sienna's gaze was fixed on the distance. A magnificent city came into view. She said slowly, "That is the Federation." The sound of hoofbeats passed through a huge archway, and the view before them opened up. The orderly streets and houses unfolded, and the streets were bustling with people. Sienna continued to explain, "The Federation is divided into a residential area and a commercial district. Resources and races from all over the world converge here. The Federation is the strongest fortress on the continent, but it's not just because of its walls." Rowan looked up at the towering walls. "Then what is it because of?" he asked. Sienna's eyes became sharp. She said in a deep voice, "Because the world's strongest people are gathered here." Sienna's voice continued, "It brings together powerful military forces that support the kingdom, check the 6 great duchies, and protect the people from the groves. Therefore, it is also known as the sword and scroll of the continent." Rowan seemed to understand. Sienna reined in her horse. "We've arrived," she said, looking at the magnificent building in front of them. "This is your new home." With a creak, the heavy wooden door opened inward. The two walked on the stone path in the courtyard. A man with tattooed arms came forward to greet them. He said respectfully, "You've worked hard, Lady Sienna." Sienna bowed slightly. "My respects, Director Lazarus." "He's the director of the Federation Management Bureau." Lazarus's gaze shifted to Rowan. There was a smile on his face. "You must be Rowan." Lazarus stopped him. "Rowan, can I have a word with you?" Rowan looked up. The room was magnificent. Sunlight poured through the tall arched windows, casting a golden glow on the floor. The two sat at a table across from each other. Lazarus looked at Rowan. "I've been feeling it since a while ago. It's really bright here." "A gathering place for military forces," Rowan recalled the previous words. "The sword and scroll of the continent, protecting the people from the groves." Of all the people he had met, the man in front of him was the most radiant and powerful. "Just how strong is this person?" Lazarus extended his tattooed arm. He asked gently, "May I hold your hand?" Rowan hesitated. He extended his hand and let the other person hold it. The moment their hands touched, a massive blue energy erupted from Lazarus's arm and instantly surged into Rowan's body. Rowan's eyes emitted a dazzling blue light. He was shocked. "This is... so... mana can be controlled so precisely?" This was completely different from how he had always controlled mana. What he knew was just the tip of the iceberg. Lazarus let go. Rowan thought, "So many people in the world can control mana so skillfully." "Did you steal the brooch on your chest from the sanctuary's deputy director?" Lazarus asked. "I didn't steal it," Rowan immediately retorted. "It was my grandmother's." "Then you just took back what belonged to you," Lazarus nodded. "May I see it?" Rowan took off the brooch and handed it to him. He suddenly found that he couldn't pull his hand back or move. Their mana seemed to be connected and refused to separate. Lazarus's control over mana was extremely precise. Every movement contained enormous power. "If I can withstand the pressure of gravity and mana at the same time, like this..." Rowan's fingers gently glided over Lazarus's palm. The two separated. Lazarus chuckled. "I'm curious what kind of power can use telekinesis without an incantation." He praised, "This is truly amazing. I'm very impressed." I was careless. Rowan thought, "I was just curious and imitated his mana control, but I didn't expect him to see through it at a glance." Lazarus stroked his chin thoughtfully. He examined the brooch carefully. Lazarus's mana just fluctuated, Rowan thought. Lazarus handed the brooch back to him. Thank you for showing me. It's a very beautiful brooch. Rowan hesitated, then asked, can I ask a question? Lazarus smiled. Of course you can. Are you the strongest person in the Federation? Lazarus laughed. Ha ha, of course not. I'm just an old raccoon who helps the Federation members. Rowan looked at him seriously. You don't look like a raccoon. Raccoons are supposed to be fluffy. Lazarus held back his laughter and explained. When I say raccoon, I'm speaking metaphorically. Lazarus continued. The 7 captains are not only experts, but also very powerful. And there's the commander, who is a master, as well as the governor, the highest authority in the Federation. Compared to them, I'm just a little raccoon. Lazarus smiled slightly. So, are all your questions answered? Rowan nodded. Yes. If I have any more questions, can I come and visit you again? Of course you can. But next time, please make an appointment first. I'm a very busy person, he said, lightly patting Rowan on the head. He's a good person, both strong and kind. I like him. Rowan showed a sincere smile. Thank you, Director. It's so great to be in the Federation. At night, Sienna took Rowan to a magnificent iron gate. She said, Rowan, this is your new home. The Federation Academy. Rowan was confused. The Federation Academy? Sienna explained. When members with families are out on missions, their children stay here. Since it's a school, you'll naturally have to study here. You'll be considered a pre-trainee and will receive 5 years of basic education and training. However, the Federation is a fusion of many countries and martial arts. So we don't teach specific secret techniques or unique styles. We only teach theory and basics. Rowan looked at everything in front of him. His eyes filled with wonder. His eyes sparkled with an unprecedented light, and his cheeks were slightly flushed with excitement. He softly repeated the word, filled with hope. School. Sienna looked at his joyful expression, and a hint of a smile appeared on her lips. They stood side by side in front of the magnificent school building. The school was brightly lit in the night, like a magical palace. The Federation Academy glowed in the sunlight. Rowan was wearing a new uniform and looked especially energetic. Daphne came up to him. The uniform suits you well, she complimented. Thank you, Rowan replied politely. Daphne stood beside him. Are you a teacher? Rowan asked. Oh, Daphne realized. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm the Dean of Academic Affairs, Daphne. I teach languages. Daphne handed Rowan a class schedule. This is the first-year class schedule and a list of subjects. In addition to the required courses, you can choose courses freely. Rowan looked at the schedule. Mana comprehension, basic swordsmanship, basic magic studies, herbology, astronomy. He quickly checked them with a quill. This one and that one. Everything looks so interesting. I'll take them all, he said excitedly. Daphne took the schedule. Let me see. Her expression turned to one of surprise. This is too much. It'll be very difficult to keep up. If you fall behind and fail, that's a big problem. But they all look so interesting, Rowan said reluctantly. Daphne patiently explained. There are not only classes but also homework and exams, so it's hard to keep up. Learning isn't always something you can do on a whim. Rowan tilted his head, his face full of pure confusion. Daphne tapped him lightly with her pointer. She looked at Rowan curiously. Rowan wondered, why would learning be hard? This child is truly different, she thought. Okay, I'll give this class schedule to the teachers as is. She turned around. Now let's go to your first class. Yes, Teacher Daphne, Rowan immediately replied. The classroom door clicked open. In the spacious lecture hall, students were already sitting in 2s and 3s, talking quietly. Daphne led Rowan down the steps. He looked around, carefully observing each person. Sure enough, just as he had thought, every child here had denser mana than him. So the problem is in my body, he thought. Daphne stood on the podium with Rowan beside her. She introduced him to the class. It's a little late, but this is our new student, Rowan. Daphne asked him to introduce himself. Okay, Rowan said. He stood in front of everyone. The scene reminded him of the reading days. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Hello, everyone. I'm Rowan from the Denton Orphanage. It's a pleasure to meet you. His voice was clear and calm. Daphne was momentarily lost. She quickly regained her composure. Clearing her throat, she said, Very good. Go and sit in that empty seat. Yes, teacher, Rowan replied. He walked down the steps and sat down in his seat. Daphne picked up the literature textbook. All right, today we'll read the fairy tale on page 24 of the textbook, she announced. Her gaze turned to Rowan. Rowan, can you read? Yes, I learned at the orphanage, Rowan replied. Daphne smiled and asked the whole class, How about we listen to Rowan's voice? The students immediately agreed enthusiastically. Rowan opened the book. He was a little surprised. Isn't this the Hairy Bride, the fairy tale Miss Amy used to quiz me at the end? He began to read. The earwig is never lonely, the clever Belitzer eats the delicious feces of the golden pig, the Hairy Bride, the students whispered. That girl tried everything to remove the hair that grew on her knees, one student said. Another student continued, but the more she pulled, the more the hair grew and the thicker it got. Why did I look so bad when I saw this book in my final exam? Did I unintentionally put myself in the girl's shoes? She was hiding the fact that she was a part of Rettel. This is a curse. No, that's too much of a leap. Rowan shook his head. Just like that girl, unless I meet Miss Amy again and hear her say it with my own ears, I'll never know her true feelings. He looked at the book and thought, people are harder to understand than learning. But he was no longer sad. He finished reading. Teacher Daphne was speechless. After a moment of silence, the classroom erupted in thunderous applause. Daphne also clapped along. A remarkable child has enrolled, she thought. After class, several students gathered around. A brown-haired boy said excitedly, Rowan, you read so well. A green-haired girl chimed in. It's the first time I've ever seen Teacher Daphne praise anyone like that. Another girl said, It was like the sentences came alive. Thank you, everyone. Rowan thanked them. His gaze passed over the crowd and fell on a brown-haired girl standing alone. Rowan's pupils contracted slightly. This child is... Rowan's heart skipped a beat. It's her, the girl who appeared in the illusion of the tree, lying on the ground in a pile of burning rubble. The brown-haired girl walked over. She extended her hand. I'm the class president, Sophie Boble. It's nice to meet you. Rowan shook her hand. Yes. Let's get along well. The next class is an elective, Sophie asked. Which one did you choose? I signed up for basic swordsmanship, Rowan replied. Sophie's gaze fell on the dagger at his waist. I figured. You want to be a member of the Federation too? Yes, Rowan said with a little hesitation. He thought, I just chose all the electives. But he still asked, do you have to learn swordsmanship to join the Federation? A sword doesn't really suit me. Sophie was stunned, her face full of questions. Rowan himself was also confused. He couldn't help but wonder, did I say something wrong? The bright sunlight shone down. The students walked out of the school building and onto a wide training ground. Diego Sanchez was waiting for them, standing in front of a row of targets with his arms crossed. He took a deep breath and suddenly shouted, First come! First served! Rowan's green eyes instantly sharpened as the students were all stunned by the sudden situation. He finally understood. A chorus of shouts erupted from the children as they burst from the school gate, their footsteps pounding a frantic rhythm on the pavement. Rowan watched them go, his eyes sweeping over the retreating figures. A voice called out, "Rowan, we're going ahead!" Another boy yelled, "Don't be late!" A gentle breeze rustled past, and Rowan was left standing alone, watching his classmates race into the distance. A single thought crystallized in his mind. Everyone here uses magic. A surge of powerful blue energy erupted from deep within him. His expression hardened into a look of fierce determination as a shock wave burst outwards, leaving the other children stunned in its wake. Faces filled with disbelief. One boy stammered, "Who was that?" Another cried out in shock, "So fast!" Sophie, running with all her might, risked a glance back. Her green eyes widened in astonishment as a name flashed through her mind. Rowan. She watched, awestruck, as a flash of white hair blurred past her. "It's Rowan!" The speed was unreal. In an instant, he had surpassed everyone. From a high vantage point, Rowan was a fleeting shadow, effortlessly weaving through the crowd of students. His footsteps were light, and a joyful laugh escaped his lips. "Ha ha ha!" he whooped, a brilliant smile spreading across his face. His eyes, squinted with pure delight, shone as he called back to the group, "Come on, guys, catch me if you can." "I'm so much happier now," he thought. "Everything is filled with magic." A blinding flash of light descended from the sky. Someone screamed, "Look out, everyone!" Instructor Diego looked up, a puzzled expression on his face. His eyes were immediately drawn to the new student, Rowan, the white-haired boy, who was now leading the pack with unbelievable momentum. The instructor was surprised to possess such speed from that scrawny body. Could he have already practiced magical meditation? Diego decided he would have to observe Rowan more closely. The students ran tirelessly toward the immense building. The instructor's voice boomed across the grounds. "Don't stop! Keep running! I want to see who can endure to the end!" "Yes, sir," the students chorused, their tired bodies pushing forward. Some were already gasping for breath, but gritted their teeth and persevered. On the sprawling training field, the students stood in neat lines, facing an instructor in a red shirt. His sharp gaze scanned each young face. "Running with your magic alongside your friends," he began. Beside him, Sophie panted, incredulous. "Is it always like this at this school?" A brown-haired boy next to her gasped, "Is that guy even human? I was ahead of him at first, but then he not only caught up but ran a whole extra lap, and after all that running, he doesn't even look tired." Rowan looked back at Sophie, a casual smile on his face. "This is really fun, right, Sophie?" Sophie stared at him in terror, nodding weakly. "He really is a demon!" she screamed internally. Instructor Diego stood with his arms crossed. "You've rested enough. My name is Diego Sanchez, and from now on, I'll be teaching you basic swordsmanship." He looked at Rowan. "Let's get along, Rowan." Rowan replied calmly, "Please take care of me, Instructor Diego." "Class begins," Diego announced. "Everyone grab a wooden sword." He pointed to a nearby weapon rack. Groans of exhaustion swept through the students as they collapsed to the ground. One student complained, "I just want to rest a little longer." "Don't act like a bunch of spoiled children," Diego snapped. He walked over to where Rowan stood, still and unmoving, his gaze fixed on the wooden swords. "What are you doing? Go grab your sword." Rowan seemed to hesitate. "It's just—" A flash of memory filled his mind. A man with a twisted, grinning face, swinging a sword down at him. Rowan's eyes closed. He spoke in a whisper. I just don't want to hold one." A flicker of surprise crossed Instructor Diego's face. "Are you afraid of swords?" Rowan didn't respond. Diego placed a hand on Rowan's shoulder, his voice softening. "A sword is indeed a dangerous tool. It's good to treat it with caution. But at the end of the day, it's just a tool. The outcome depends on the heart of the one wielding it. A sword is a testament to your state of mind. So try to face it. Just this once. Just a tool." Diego's words echoed in Rowan's head. If Black had used a staff instead of a sword, would I hate staves too? An image of a broken sword flashed before his eyes. He began to walk, joining the other students heading for the weapon rack. I still don't want to become a master swordsman, he thought. He picked up a wooden sword and gripped it tightly. But that doesn't mean I should run from it. Rowan swung the sword and it cut a graceful arc through the air. A wisp of magic swirled around him as Instructor Diego watched in silent observation. He has the makings of a great swordsman, Diego thought. Too bad his willpower is so weak. He then addressed the entire class. All right, find a partner for sparring. You can use any method you want. Fight with the determination to take down your opponent. Diego's eyes landed on two students, Rowan and Sophie. To make it fair, the two of you who were at the front will be partners. Sophie looked stunned. Me? With Rowan? Rowan was also a little surprised. I'm sparring with Sophie? The students around them began to whisper. Even if Rowan is fast, he can't beat Sophie in swordsmanship, can he? Of course not. The Popple family's sword techniques are famous throughout the kingdom. Instructor Diego placed his hands on his hips. Whenever you're ready, begin. The moment he finished speaking, the duel began. Sophie charged first, a battle cry on her lips as her wooden sword swept in with a fierce wind. Rowan's pupils contracted. He had never seen real swordsmanship before, but her stance was as solid as a mountain. It felt nothing like his memory, not even a trace of malice. Is this what they call excellent swordsmanship? I'll use this opportunity to learn. He regulated his breathing, planted his feet firmly, and gripped the wooden sword with both hands, adopting a perfect stance. Instructor Diego's face was a mask of shock, and Sophie froze in place. This is a perfect offensive and defensive posture. His stance is so stable I can't believe this is his first time holding a sword. Sophie's eyes hardened with resolve. I can't lose both the race and swordsmanship. This is about my pride and the pride of the Popple family. I will not lose. She lunged at Rowan, her wooden sword whistling as it came down. Rowan easily sidestepped the attack. Sophie's eyes widened. He dodged my sword. Rowan's gaze was sharp. He anticipated her movements. Her next strike will be the chest. He easily blocked. The shoulder. Blocked again. The head. He smoothly ducked to the side. Sophie was trembling. She couldn't comprehend what was happening. Not only that, he's reading my every move. How far ahead can this kid see? Her wooden sword slipped from her grasp and clattered to the ground. She whispered, I lose. But then she looked up, a new light of determination in her eyes. Let's go again. Rowan smiled faintly. All right. The training session had ended, and the students were sitting on the steps, resting. Sophie looked over at Rowan, impressed. Rowan, that duel was incredible. I can't believe you're that good with a sword after only just picking one up. Maybe you have a hidden talent for swordsmanship. Rowan replied calmly. The first 2 rounds were luck. I completely lost the last 2. Sophie smiled. Thanks for saying that. Let's do it again next time. A classmate chimed in. Awesome! Next class is basic magic. That means we get a longer break. Rowan looked puzzled. Why is magic class a break? Shouldn't we be working hard to become members of the Alliance? The other children stared at him, bewildered. The instructor is a great teacher, another boy explained. But no matter how good he is, learning magic itself is incredibly difficult. So learning magic is that hard, Rowan thought. But who is the teacher? A girl next to him stared in disbelief. Rowan, do you really not know anything? Rowan gave her a confused look. The one who teaches basic magic is the former honorary grandmaster and the current head of the magic department. An image of an old man with a long white beard and a white robe flashed through Rowan's mind. He was holding a ball of powerful magical energy in his hand. Professor Arthur. In the magnificent tiered classroom, students sat quietly in their seats, waiting for class to begin. Creak. The heavy wooden door opened, and an old man with a long white beard walked slowly inside. The entire classroom fell silent. He walked with a steady pace down the steps. Sophie whispered to Rowan, "That's Professor Arthur. Remember what I told you?" Rowan's mind replayed her words. He was the former Grandmaster and is now the head of the magic department. He could feel the magic radiating from the professor. It was even more powerful than the headmaster's. I wonder what the Alliance's strongest person is like. Professor Arthur stopped at the lectern, his gaze sweeping over the room. "I hear we have new students today." Rowan stood up. "Hello, I'm Rowan. I'm joining the class today." Professor Arthur replied, "I am Arthur. I teach basic magic." He stroked his beard thoughtfully. For some of you auditing this class, it might feel like a boring lecture." Some students slumped over their desks, but Rowan sat upright. He spoke loudly and clearly. "My goal is to become a magician and join the Alliance." Professor Arthur let out a laugh. "Such boldness, kid." But then he asked, "But Rowan, do you know that the path you seek is much more difficult than swordsmanship?" More difficult than swordsmanship? Is that why he had such a strong reaction earlier? Rowan replied calmly, "No, I don't know why that is." Professor Arthur looked at Sophie. "Sophie, you answer this question." Sophie stood up and explained, "To master magic, you not only need to learn a vast amount of knowledge, but it also puts a huge strain on your mind and body. And even if you have an outstanding magical talent, it takes at least 10 years of training to be certified as a first-rank magician." "Correct," Professor Arthur nodded. "So it's very difficult to become an Alliance member right after graduation through magic. A first-rank magician isn't strong enough for direct combat. At most, they can only become a reserve member like Oz. To become an active member on the front lines, you need to reach the second rank." "In that case," Rowan began, "it's pretty good if you can reach the third rank before graduation." Professor Arthur pressed on. "Do you even know what the third rank means?" Rowan admitted honestly, "No, I don't know much about magic." No wonder he's so reckless, Arthur thought. "Then I'll take this chance to teach you." He turned to the blackboard, and chalk scraped across the surface. While writing ancient runes, he explained why swordsmanship was the primary focus of the Alliance, and why magic was increasingly seen as an academic pursuit of truth and wisdom. He finished his final stroke, and the blackboard was covered in complex formulas. "This is a formula to recreate a rocket spell. Does anyone notice anything wrong with it?" Rowan's pupils widened slightly. "This formula looks a lot like the one I saw near the hole and the trees. It's so complicated." "What did he write?" Professor Arthur's voice came again. "It's natural for you not to understand, so don't be discouraged. Although it looks complex, the rocket spell is one of the most basic spells. Higher-level spells are far beyond your imagination." Burning runes appeared on the ceiling, and flames gathered into the shape of an arrow, hovering in midair. Rowan stared at the flame, feeling something was off. It feels unstable, as if it could melt and disappear at any moment. Then, Professor Arthur spoke. "Formulas are this sensitive. Even if you use up all your magic, one small mistake can make everything collapse." He lifted his hand and erased a symbol from the blackboard before rewriting it. As his final stroke landed, magic surged once more. This time, a much brighter and more solid arrow of fire shot out, leaving a scorching trail. "Whoa!" the students gasped in amazement. "Therefore," Professor Arthur explained, "magicians must reanalyze the entire formula just to find one mistake, or to make the tiniest change." He held the burning arrow in his hand. "Ordinary patience and understanding are simply not enough." He flicked his wrist and the flames swelled. To change a rocket spell into a fireball spell, it not only requires more magic, but also puts a huge strain on the mind and body. And that's not all. Compared to swordsmanship, magic hits a plateau much faster. Does anyone know why? Sophie quickly raised her hand. Because even though both use magic, infusing magic into a weapon as battle aura is much more efficient than manifesting it into a spell. Professor Arthur smiled with satisfaction. Yes, Sophie. Very good. Because magic consumes a huge amount of magic, it puts a heavy burden on the mind and body. Its power depends on the magician's magic reserves. Just as I thought, Rowan mused. If a magician's strength is proportional to their magic, then it would be difficult for me to use powerful magic with my relatively low magic density. But what if I study the process of creating magic and the phenomena involved? Could I still use powerful magic? Professor Arthur asked. Rowan, what do you think is needed to cast this spell? The formula you wrote on the blackboard, Rowan answered. Correct. Professor Arthur picked up the chalk eraser. But you can't be expected to go through such a long formula every time you cast a spell. So, usually, this massive amount of information is drawn in concentric circles. He drew a complex magic circle on the blackboard. This is commonly called a magic circle. Even the thing engraved on Headmaster Lazarus's body. Was that a magic circle? He raised his hand. Would someone engrave it on their body? Some magicians do that, Professor Arthur replied, to quickly cast spells they use often. Rowan fell into thought. It's like a symbol. If a formula is an equation, a magic circle is that symbol. He had an epiphany. So, what about chanting? Is that the verbal translation of the formula? Professor Arthur's eyes narrowed. Why do you think that? Rowan continued. The formula you wrote on the blackboard looks more like a blueprint for manifesting the fireball spell. If we treat the magic circle as a symbol, then saying it out loud must be its verbal component, right? Professor Arthur's face was filled with disbelief. He was silent for a moment. You're only a first-year student, and you're already thinking about things even senior high-level magicians might consider. That's an impressive answer. Well done. Arranging the right words in the right order, that's the essence of chanting. Every word that is infused with magic and spoken aloud carries great power. We call it a true name or a spell. He demonstrated like this. As he chanted in a low voice, the burning runes swirled in the air, forming a huge fireball in front of him, radiating an incredible heat. It's not just about the carefully selected arrangement of words, Professor Arthur explained. Even nonverbal factors like tone, speed, and emotional state all intertwine. Rowan's eyes flashed with understanding. It's like a recitation, he thought. Come to think of it, no recitation has ever moved me this much. So it's not an easy thing at all. Professor Arthur reeled in his magic. All right, I think I've scared you enough for one day. Rowan, is your resolve the same as before? Rowan's eyes glinted. Yes. In fact, I'm even more interested now. Good, Professor Arthur announced. Starting next class, we'll begin learning ancient languages. I'll give each of you a book, so think about the nature of ancient languages. Groans of despair erupted from some students at the mention of more studying. Class was over, and students trickled out of the classroom. Sophie hugged her books, complaining tiredly, Homework, homework, endless homework. Why did I even sign up for so many classes? She turned to Rowan. I'm one thing, but you're a whole other level. I heard you've scheduled classes all week, except for lunch breaks. Rowan smiled. Yep, because studying is the most fun. You know, Sophie sighed. You're a little annoying. She changed the subject. By the way, Rowan, what room are you in? Rowan pointed down the hallway. Over there, the second room at the end of the first floor. Oh, you're with Lucas, Sophie said. Lucas? Rowan was confused. Sophie yawned and waved. All right, see you tomorrow. Good night, Sophie. He returned to his room, sat at his desk, and opened his book, beginning to write meticulously. He carefully studied the ancient script. The characters are complex, but after deciphering them, I understand the formula's structure. Since my magic isn't strong enough to cast powerful spells directly, maybe I should create spells that are suited for me instead. Flames swirled in his hand. It's done. He collapsed to the floor, surrounded by papers covered in formulas. A small flame flickered in his palm. I did it, he panted, his chest heaving. Even with all the trial and error, if I break down and rebuild the formula like this, it will... His consciousness suddenly cut out. His body fell forward, hitting the floor with a thud as he lost all sensation. The room was bathed in the deep light of night. The door creaked open, and a pair of feet stepped inside. What's with all this mess? Rowan lay on the floor, fast asleep, a slight flush on his cheeks. A red-haired boy named Lucas stood beside him, scratching his head in confusion. He whispered, "Why are you sleeping on the floor?" In the sky above a magnificent manor. This was a difficult journey for a child. I didn't notice, and I thought he was okay. It was my mistake. Was that Lady Sienna's voice? No. It's the department's fault, not yours, Lady Sienna. What are they talking about? Are they talking about me? I feel bad for forcing him to take so many classes on his first day. I just got a little carried away because of the potential he showed. Rowan's consciousness drifted in and out of the darkness. The bed sheets rustled. He groaned and his eyelids fluttered. Where am I? A concerned face came into view. Lucas looked down at him. You're awake? Are you okay? Rowan blinked, his vision still blurry. He rubbed his eyes and let out a confused little hum. The boy in front of him sighed in relief and took a step forward, wrapping his arms around the still dazed Rowan. Lucas's voice was loud. Thank goodness! You scared me half to death when you passed out. Overwhelmed by the sudden embrace, Rowan stammered, Who are you? Lucas released him and introduced himself with a serious tone. My name is Lucas von Passau. I'm your classmate and roommate. He sat on the edge of the bed. I found you passed out when I came back from training, he added with a shiver. My father would have killed me if he had found out. Rowan processed his words. I passed out? Lucas waved it off casually. It's nothing. They said you were just overly exhausted and that you'll be fine with some rest. Rowan listened quietly, his answer a soft sound. But why were you worried about me? He asked, looking at Lucas. Lucas sat in the chair by the bed and answered honestly. My father told me to take good care of you. Rowan repeated the words. Your father? Yes, Lucas confirmed. Oscar von Passau, the vice captain of the faith department? He's my dad. He's Vice Captain Oscar's son? Lucas gave him a sly wink. Just tell my dad later that I'm the one who took you to the infirmary and stayed up all night to take care of you, okay? His magic feels pure, so he's probably not lying. And they do look a bit alike. Rowan nodded. I will. Lucas smiled. You're friendlier than you look. Most new students think I'm an upperclassman. Rowan was confused. An upperclassman? Lucas puffed out his chest proudly. I may not look it, but I'm 12 years old. Did you enroll late? Rowan asked. Lucas leaned lazily on the foot of the bed. Not really. I just failed twice because of my poor attendance, he pouted. Of course. Even if I had perfect attendance, it's no guarantee I'd level up. I'm just not the academic type. Lucas's expression changed. Speaking of which, did you really faint from studying magic? The room was a mess. Rowan's mind went back to the moment he fainted. He stared at the magic scrolls on his desk. A flame swirled in his palm. I definitely cast the fireball spell successfully, he thought, chin in hand. But I can't remember anything after that. Lucas stretched, a hint of regret in his voice. Too bad. If it were swordsmanship, we could train together. I could have helped you with a lot of things. So you also major in swordsmanship? Rowan asked. Lucas proudly raised a finger. Well, my dad is the vice captain of the faith department after all. That makes sense, Rowan thought. He's 2 years older than me, but his magic density is much higher than the others. He's so tall and strong. I wonder how hard he had to work to become like that. I have to do my best too. Suddenly, Rowan was hit with a wave of worry. But aren't we already late for class? Lucas's eyes widened. You're going to school? You just fainted from studying, he exclaimed. Rowan looked out the window. Then at least let's get some fresh air. I have a headache. Lucas's eyes lit up. If that's all, then I also skip class when I need fresh air. Rowan wasn't sure that was a good enough reason, but Lucas didn't care. Why not? It's a beautiful day. Let's go out. He jumped off the bed. He stretched his body as he spoke. When you have a headache, the best thing to do is get some fresh air, eat some good food, and stretch your body. Rowan gave a forced smile. All right, Lucas, now I know why you failed. The sky was clear, and the bustling market was full of people. Lucas handed Rowan a piece of bread. Eat up. You look so weak, I'm afraid you'll faint again. Rowan took small bites of the bread and nodded lightly. Suddenly he stopped, his gaze fixed on a shop. It was a magic shop, and he could feel a surge of magic coming from within. He turned to Lucas. Lucas, I want to take a look inside. Lucas, still chewing, looked confused. Where? The magic shop? He glanced at the shop and then turned to Rowan. If you're curious, let's go. The bell on the door chimed softly as the two of them entered. The shop was dimly lit, and shelves were filled with various items. A large table in the center had a 5-pointed star carved into it. They walked slowly, their eyes darting around in curiosity. Lucas glanced around the shop. Every item here is infused with strong magic. He sneezed. Rowan's pupils shrunk. Wait, I just realized I don't have any money. A beam of light seemed to shine down on him, highlighting his pathetic situation. I should have brought the money I earned from the shelter, he thought, annoyed. The dust in the air made him wrinkle his nose. Lucas noticed his expression. What's wrong? Did you not see anything you liked? Rowan whispered. I don't have any money. Is that all? Lucas laughed heartily. Just tell me what you want. My dad told me to take care of you, so this is part of it. Rowan's eyes lit up. You can buy anything here? Lucas scratched his head, a little embarrassed. Not really. He opened his palm, revealing a few coins. Just pick one thing for now, okay? A book should last you for a few months. I guess there's no other way, Rowan thought. After all, I don't even have this much money. But how can one book last for a few months? Lucas lowered his head, counting the coins in his hand. 1, 2, 3. I need to find something Lucas can afford. Rowan walked slowly through the shop, his eyes scanning the shelves. Finally, he stopped at an inconspicuous corner. What's this? An egg-shaped black stone lay on a soft cushion. A complex magic circle was carved into its surface, and it radiated a cloudy magic. Rowan carefully picked it up. Maybe the price is low because the magic is murky. If it's this, then... A voice came from behind him. You chose the Gaetia stone, huh? The shopkeeper looked at the stone. I almost forgot I had that in the shop. The Gaetia stone? Rowan asked curiously. What's it for? The shopkeeper waved a hand. It's just a decoration. That egg won't hatch anyway, he added. As for what's inside, who knows? The shopkeeper continued his explanation. It said that an unknown entity is sealed within. It was brought here long ago from the south of Lodos, and its appearance hasn't changed since. I initially thought it was a useful magical artifact. It turns out, it isn't. A magical artifact, then? Rowan asked. The shopkeeper explained. An object imbued with magic is called an artifact. I see, Rowan mused. If I were to break the seal, would something awaken from inside? The shopkeeper shook his head. Theoretically, yes. But you probably can't. It requires a specific high-level incantation. Rowan gazed at the egg in his hands. A specific incantation. This was a complex magic circle. In terms of casting difficulty, it was many times more difficult than a fireball spell. Lucas stretched. So what do you think? Rowan asked. It looks way better than the book, Lucas said. Seems like it'd be great for smashing things or just throwing around. Rowan smiled. I'll take it then. The bell on the shop door chimed again. The shopkeeper's voice came from behind them. Come again soon. Thanks, Rowan replied. The two returned to the bustling market. All right, what's next? Lucas asked. Rowan, meanwhile, was happily caressing the black stone he'd just acquired. Lucas suddenly noticed how late it was getting. It's this late already? Come on, Rowan. We should get going or we'll be late. Rowan turned to him. Where are we going? He asked curiously. Lucas grinned mysteriously. The coolest place in the Alliance. In the twilight glow of the setting sun, a magnificent clock tower stood in the center of the city. A few birds soared across the sky. Rowan let out a genuine gasp of amazement. Lucas looked at him proudly. Pretty cool, huh? Rowan nodded, gazing up at the tower. Is that the heart of the Alliance? That's right. That's the Alliance headquarters, Lucas confirmed. The governor and the commander are both there. Have you ever seen them? Rowan asked. Lucas thought back. Once, when I was little, I went with my dad and saw the former commander. What was he like? Rowan pressed. He wore a white suit, so of course he was super cool. Lucas propped his chin in his hand as if searching for a more fitting description. It's hard to explain. He was like a swan, standing proudly among a flock of crows. The commander wears a white suit, Rowan murmured. I didn't know that. A hint of longing appeared in his eyes. All he knew was the combat power of the various ranks documented in books. Even a top 7 captain was said to be powerful enough to single-handedly subdue an entire city. The commander who led them all was said to possess the power to suppress an entire nation. And finally, the governor, the highest authority on the continent, an existence on par with a king. Rowan looked up at the distant clock tower. They were such distant, such great figures. He tightly gripped the stone in his hand. But one day I might be able to reach that high. The two stood side by side, gazing at the distant clock tower. The last rays of the setting sun bathed them. It really is tall, Rowan said, looking up at the tower. You can see it from anywhere in the Alliance. Yeah, you can see it clearly from school, too, Lucas agreed. Rowan's eyes focused on the huge clock face. What does that red hand point to? He asked. How do you read this clock? Lucas scratched his head, looking a little confused. Well, you see the symbols on the red circle outside? They say those characters represent the year. Rowan observed them closely. The symbols looked like old characters from an ancient language. Lucas looked away. I'm not great at reading them myself. But right now, is it the year 262? Rowan suddenly interjected. Lucas was startled, then confirmed it. Yeah, that's right. The kingdom's calendar year is 262. Then the other side must indicate the month and day, Rowan continued, his gaze fixed. Looking at that symbol, it's June 14th. So today is June 14th, 262, at 7:20 p.m. Lucas stared at him in amazement. How did he know that? A vision of a sea of flames flashed in Rowan's mind. I think I've seen it somewhere before. The clock tower in the vision shown by the great tree was also there. The time on the clock tower was June 14th, 272, 10 years from today. Rowan lowered his head, falling silent. Night fell, and the two returned to their dorm. You should get some rest, Lucas said to Rowan. "Where are you going?" Rowan asked. Lucas picked up his wooden sword. "I've got to make up for the training I missed. If I don't practice for even one day, I'll get rusty. I'm off." Rowan nodded. "See you?" Lucas left the room, the door closing softly behind him. Rowan sat alone on the edge of his bed. I can't ignore the scene that tree showed me. It might not have been a hallucination, but a premonition. He stared at the black stone in his hand. If it's true, what do I do? How can I change the future? Rowan closed his eyes, concentrating. First, I need to collect as much information as possible from the scenes I saw. The clock tower appeared in most of my memories. If I arrange them according to the time on the clock, it would look like this. In his mind, countless fragments of the future unfolded before him like glowing cards. Next, I'll fill in the gaps in chronological order. He reached out and touched a memory fragment. The red roof here is still intact, so this one can be ruled out first. The scout died after the roof collapsed. So, the next memory. He continued to organize and piece together the process. The fragments of memory swirled, arranging themselves into a coherent timeline. Now, to recall the vision the great tree showed me. He stretched out his hand and touched one of the glowing panels. This is the future. He re-examined the scenes, his resolve firm. Sophie, Lucas, Sienna, everyone was dead. He clenched his fist. I need to know what my rank was at that time. In all the fragments, only one contained a silhouette of himself. He searched carefully and found it. The memory fragment showed his own back. From this angle, I can't see the insignia of my rank. But now, I think I can change the angle. He reached out, trying to manipulate the scene before him. As he did, the memory fragment rotated, and the image before him suddenly changed, turning into a burning ruin. The clock tower stood defiantly amidst the flames. A faint smile appeared on Rowan's lips. Good. A figure stood before him. He spoke in a low voice. I can confirm it now. Rowan looked up, carefully studying his future self. My rank is... He saw it. A terrible thought surfaced in his mind, and his face instantly turned ashen. 10 years from now, I'm going to die. His future self in the vision was kneeling in the sea of fire. A gaping hole burned in his chest, while his other self looked down on him coldly. The vision disappeared. Rowan sat on the edge of the bed, quietly and slowly closed his eyes. Rowan's eyelids fluttered. He slowly opened them, recovering from the profound vision. Sitting on the bed, he unconsciously rubbed his chin, lost in thought. Was this the tree's warning? The fall of the alliance would mean the fall of the kingdom and the continent. It would be the end of the world, no different from the extinction of humanity. That tree is a product of dark magic that drains human mana, and those who sacrifice themselves hover between life and death. And someone's will. Maybe that's why I was dragged into this. Rowan stood up abruptly and walked to the desk, his gaze falling on the open book. I don't know if this vision will come to pass, but to make it a lie, I have to create a different reality. I have to start with myself. He picked up a book, his eyes becoming firm. Since I don't know my future rank, wearing any insignia is meaningless. Maybe I won't even become a member, or maybe I'll become a bureau official and wear a red suit. The silhouette of a figure in a white suit appeared in his mind. Or maybe I'll become the commander. I should wear the white suit. Rowan sat at his desk, his gaze fixed on the open book. The sky began to lighten as sunlight streamed through the window. Oh, by the way, Rowan, Lucas's voice broke the silence. Lucas had already changed into his school uniform. Daphne wants you to stop by the student affairs office when you get to school. Rowan was a little surprised. Just me? Yeah, what's up? Lucas confirmed. Rowan, tying his necktie, asked, Haven't you been absent for a while, too? Lucas waved his hand. She didn't say anything to me. I'm heading out. See you in class. After Lucas left, Rowan's eyebrows furrowed slightly. Why would Daphne want to see me? Sunlight streamed into the room through the large window. Professor Daphne looked at Rowan with concern. "Are you feeling better, Rowan?" she said softly. "You still don't look well." Rowan looked up and answered calmly. "Thanks for your concern. I'm much better now. Lucas told me. Thank you for handling the sick leave for me." Daphne's expression held a hint of worry. "Don't push yourself too hard. Since it's an elective, you can drop it at any time. Don't you think you need to adjust a bit?" Rowan shook his head. "No, I like it the way it is. I've really enjoyed all the classes I've taken so far, and I'm looking forward to the ones I haven't experienced yet." Daphne's tone was apologetic. "I just feel like I'm pushing you too hard." A bright smile bloomed on Rowan's face. He guaranteed her in a relaxed tone, "It's really okay. I'll be more careful from now on." Daphne nodded. "All right. If you ever need to talk, you can always come to me." Rowan bowed slightly. "Yes. Thank you for your understanding." His chair scraped back slightly as he stood up and turned to leave. His footsteps echoed in the empty room, one after another. He looked straight ahead, his gaze firm. "I have to take as many classes as possible. I can practice as naturally as breathing, so I'll be fine. But more importantly..." Rowan's hand rested on the doorknob. He turned it gently, and the heavy door opened. He stepped through. "It's to help my friends and to grow with them." As soon as Rowan entered the classroom, his classmates noticed him. "Rowan," a brown-haired girl said with concern. "Are you feeling better? I heard you passed out. I was really worried." Rowan gave her a gentle smile. "I'm fine now. Thanks for your concern, everyone. If they can get stronger with me, then maybe they can survive." Another student sighed in relief. "That's great. Now we can take class together again today." Rowan stood in front of the crowd with Lucas by his side. He spoke in a serious tone. "Everyone, if you don't mind, could I ask you for a favor?" "A favor?" one student asked, confused. Rowan began to call out names. "First, Isidore, Milselane, Corsten," he continued. "Truin, Edwin, Darian, Tirik, and Karatos. You all aren't taking swordsmanship, right?" The named students stammered their replies. Yeah, that's right." Rowan's gaze shifted to another group of people. "Flora, Sebastian, Epona, Demas, Sabrina, Vera, and Lucas. You all aren't taking basic magic, are you?" A girl in the crowd covered her mouth, her heart pounding. Rowan remembers my name. He had only taken a day to remember everyone's name. It was amazing. But Sophie was also confused. Why is he suddenly bringing up classes? Rowan's tone held a hint of expectation. "I've heard these are 2 excellent classes, so I was hoping you'd join me." He looked at everyone. "Is this request too much?" The crowd immediately reacted. One girl's eyes turned into hearts. "Too much? No, not at all. That sounds great." Another girl seconded her excitedly. "Of course, I'm in." But some hesitated. "But magic class really isn't for me," a student said, looking troubled. He hesitated. "Oh, right, it's magic class." Rowan understood and nodded. "I know some of you might want to avoid it, but what if you thought about it differently?" "What do you mean?" Lucas asked, curious. A confident smile appeared on Rowan's face. "I'd like to show you directly. Maybe that will help you understand faster. Lucas, just for today, will you try basic magic?" Lucas sighed. He reluctantly gave in. "If it's just for today, I guess it's fine." Rowan's eyes lit up. He sincerely thanked everyone. "Thank you all so much. I'm already looking forward to it." Lucas looked at his brilliant smile, feeling helpless. Sigh. It's really hard to say no to that face. The classroom was abuzz with an unprecedented enthusiasm. Professor Arthur stood at the lectern looking around the packed classroom. So that's it. Rowan really did encourage everyone to come to the magic class. He looked at the boy sitting in the front row and asked softly, "Rowan, are you feeling well?" Rowan turned and replied with a smile, "I'm much better thanks to you." A look of relief appeared on Professor Arthur's face. "This is the most popular magic class has ever been. This is all you're doing, isn't it, Rowan?" Rowan responded modestly, "I just wanted everyone to know that magic isn't as distant as they think." Professor Arthur pondered this. "Not so distant?" "I'm curious. What exactly does he plan to show them?" He stroked his beard, his eyes filled with curiosity. "So how do you plan to show them?" Rowan turned to face him and raised one hand. "Could I use the lectern for a moment?" The professor chuckled. "Go ahead. Do what you want. Just don't push yourself too hard." Rowan walked towards the lectern, his footsteps echoing in the quiet classroom. Lucas looked at his back. He leaned over and whispered to Sophie, "That kid has a lot of nerve. He's really not ordinary." Meanwhile, outside the academy's grand entrance, Daphne looked at Lazarus beside her. "You're probably the busiest person in the Alliance. Why are you at school so early? Is this because of Rowan, too?" Lazarus replied calmly, "Not entirely, but it's part of it. Supervising the school is also one of the administration bureau's duties." As they spoke, Sienna walked over. Lazarus looked at her in surprise. "Sienna Luna, aren't you off today? What are you doing here?" Sienna answered, "I have a task from Vice Captain Oscar to complete, but more interestingly..." She looked at Diego in the distance. "Isn't that Mr. Diego? It's his first time observing a non-swordsmanship class." Diego noticed their gaze and waved with a smile. "Well, everyone suddenly became interested in the magic class, and it made me curious." Daphne mumbled under her breath, "By the way, where's the principal?" The principal adjusted his glasses. He said in a low voice, "With the head of the administration bureau here in person, I can't very well ignore it." Daphne's expression was unreadable, her tone commanding. "Then, so as not to disturb the class, please just observe quietly." The observers nodded solemnly. The classroom door was pushed open, and the hinges let out a slight creak. In that very instant, Daphne's pupils contracted, a roaring sound, and a burst of scorching flames erupted from inside the door. A huge fireball spun in the air, rumbling. The light from the fire illuminated the entire corridor. Rowan stood at the lectern, bathed in the flames, a look of excitement on his face. Professor Arthur stretched out his arm, and a completely different magical force rose. A screen of icy blue light unfolded before him, protecting the students in their seats from the magic. Professor Arthur's breath hitched. "Is that a fireball spell?" he murmured. "That's impossible. That's not a spell a child his age should be able to cast. Not only is it beyond the scope of the standard curriculum, but even the firebolt spell, one rank below fireball, isn't taught until the 5th year. And even then, only truly talented children can master it." The massive fireball hovered obediently in front of him. Rowan stood with his back to the crowd, his arms outstretched as if embracing the destructive power. Professor Arthur's face turned pale. He couldn't believe his eyes. So how did this child do it? The principal propped his chin in his hand, his gaze serene. "I've never seen a fireball that radiates such pure, refined energy. It's almost like watching Zion's holy magic. The density of that fireball, considering its size, it's truly impressive, and it's completely stable." "Stable?" Lazarus countered. "This is beyond stable. It defies common sense." "He's right. No young person should be able to cast this kind of magic," Sienna said. "But technically, the fireball spell is classified as a simple spell. Yet he's able to suspend it in mid-air, maintaining a constant volume and heat from start to finish. It's no longer just a simple fireball. It's become a completely different kind of magic." Sienna thought to herself, "From the first time I met him, He had an amazing intuition for using magic. I heard he grew up in a relief shelter. How did he obtain this kind of power? The principal mused. I heard he grew up in a relief shelter. How did he get such an incredible power? Sienna's brows furrowed slightly. She spoke with some concern. I heard he just passed out yesterday. He might not have fully recovered yet. Are we really just going to let him continue? Daphne nodded. You're right. Though it's not my place to say so, maybe it's time for someone to intervene and stop him. The fireball spun wildly in the air, its magical energy rippling outwards. Daphne thought to herself, maybe it's time to stop him. Rowan's forehead was beaded with fine sweat. His breathing became rapid and heavy, his gasps audible in the silence. He bit down on his lip, enduring the immense mental pressure. Rowan extended his pale hand, his expression incredibly focused. The vortex of flame burned fiercely, a destructive spectacle of red and bright yellow intertwined. More than its sheer size, the stable supply of mana is what's key, he reminded himself. I must not let the mana spiral out of control and make the flames unstable. He gritted his teeth, sweat trickling down the side of his face. Suddenly his gaze shifted. His emerald green eyes widened slightly. The blue barrier that enveloped the audience seats shimmered. Professor Arthur's barrier spell is amazing. Its shape is a little similar to the crater I saw at the shelter that day, but its nature and purpose are completely different. A hint of worry appeared on his face. What would happen if the fireball hit the barrier? Rowan turned to Professor Arthur, his eyes gleaming with pure admiration. He spoke. Professor Arthur, you're amazing! What's the name of that spell? Professor Arthur was speechless for a moment. His eye twitched almost imperceptibly. This isn't the time to be distracted. He's maintaining that fireball while innocently asking questions. Even I am focusing this hard right now. Professor Arthur stretched out his hand, and a huge blue barrier unfolded before him. The vortex of flames was instantly sucked into it. The blue energy enveloped the scarlet fireball. Rowan stared, his mouth slightly ajar. The fireball had been completely devoured. The dazzling light gradually dissipated, finally turning into countless shimmering particles that scattered into the air. Rowan stood frozen in place, his emerald eyes wide with shock. The students in the lecture hall were also stunned into silence. Professor Arthur slowly lowered his hand. He turned to the young man beside him, his expression complex. I don't know whether to scold this child for his audacity or praise his talent. Lazarus walked up to them. He smiled at Rowan. Well done, Rowan. As for your question, that magic is Dean Arthur's signature spell. Its name is Blazing Aegis. Rowan's eyes lit up. He praised him sincerely. Blazing Aegis, that's a very cool name. Professor Arthur shook his head. What's in a name? Besides, I didn't name it myself. Rowan smiled. Then someone gave you a great gift. That must have felt amazing. Professor Arthur's gaze deepened. He asked, Then, Rowan, does the magic you just displayed have a name? Rowan froze for a moment. It was just a fireball. Professor Arthur's tone became serious. Everyone here knows that wasn't an ordinary fireball, and you know better than anyone that it was more than just a fireball. Rowan lowered his eyes and said softly, Yes. He looked a little embarrassed. I haven't had time to think of one, but I'll try to come up with a good name. Professor Arthur's mouth twitched. Rowan, seeing this, gave him an embarrassed smile. I meant to point out the danger, but they're all just worried about the name. A serious voice came from the side. As the director of the administration bureau, I cannot overlook this. Lazarus walked up to them, his expression very serious. Rowan, why did you do something so dangerous? I want to know your intentions. Rowan's eyes were clear. He answered without hesitation. First, I was confident I could control the flame, and I trusted that Professor Arthur would be watching over me. Professor Arthur coughed lightly at that. So, showing off the fireball was your only goal? Professor Arthur pressed. Rowan nodded. Yes. A brilliant smile appeared on his face. I just wanted to give my friends some confidence. They might be interested in magic, but are too afraid to try. Professor Arthur was confused at his words. Afraid? You said that being able to cast fireball before graduation is an achievement, but I already did it, so I wanted to show them what's possible. A look of relief appeared on Professor Arthur's face. He's a genius, but I can't say that out loud. He covered his mouth with his hand, feeling a bit ashamed. Did I unknowingly limit the potential of these children? And now this one little boy has made me realize that. Rowan smiled contentedly. He turned to Professor Arthur and asked, If I could have a little more of your time, I have something else I'd like to show my friends. Professor Arthur readily agreed. Go ahead. Rowan turned to face the audience. Lucas, can you come up here for a second? Lucas was startled. He pointed at himself. Me? He hesitantly stood up. Why me? Lucas walked forward. Rowan smiled at him. I'll help you, so just try to cast a spell. Me? Cast a spell? Lucas was in disbelief. Rowan patiently explained. Magic and swordsmanship are ultimately about controlling mana. You train every day. I'm sure you can do it. Lucas's expression was still full of confusion. But how could I possibly use magic? Rowan thought for a moment. He placed his hand on Lucas's back and said, Since your magic training is lacking, we'll try with an incantation. It's simpler than a magic circle or a formula. Now repeat after me, Rowan instructed from the side. Ignis vestigia spiritain, calor et aura peribathia. Lucas stammered. Ignis vestigia. He asked, confused. Spira what? Rowan held up a finger and patiently corrected him. It's ignis vestigia spiritain. Lucas still couldn't say it. Ignis... Rowan's expression became serious. Have you never heard ancient language before? This is your third time being a first-year student. Lucas looked at him blankly. What? Don't you know? Rowan decided to try a different approach. Then I'll teach you the meaning first. It's important to understand the meaning when using an ancient language. The phrase means this: the breath of silent flames, the remnant of air that vanishes from the heat. Lucas shuddered. Phew, that's so cheesy. A clear voice from the audience chimed in. To crash into me without hesitation. Another voice continued. And appear before my eyes. Rowan's pupils contracted. Why? This shouldn't be happening. Why didn't it work? Why didn't anyone understand? The entire hall fell silent. The two of them stood quietly at the lectern. If I'm stuck from the very beginning, what am I going to do for the next 10 years? What do I do now? Anxiety was etched on Rowan's face. It was a spell simplified to the point that even Lucas could have learned it. But forget the other students. It seemed even Sophie couldn't understand. Lucas whispered to him, Hey, Rowan. Professor Arthur placed a hand on both of their shoulders. He said kindly, Rowan, this is Lucas's first class. We need to be more understanding with him. Rowan lowered his eyes. A moment later, he looked up. I understand the incantation, but could you also teach me the spell formula? As soon as he finished speaking, a piece of chalk floated in mid-air, drawing lines. The students let out a gasp. Professor Arthur watched with interest. He chuckled softly. So you can use psychokinesis magic, too. The chalk gently landed on the table. The wall behind the lectern was already covered in complex runes. Rowan turned around. I've written it all down. He held out his palm, and a gentle orb of blue light coalesced in his hand. The bright light instantly filled the entire hall. The blue light filled the entire lecture hall, and the walls were covered with complex runes. Lazarus's gaze sharpened. He stared at the runes on the wall. Rowan, where did you see this spell formula? Rowan replied calmly. I didn't copy anything. I just looked at the version Professor Arthur wrote and modified it in my own way. Professor Arthur's tone was filled with a hint of surprise. This isn't just a modification. The story isn't over yet. Stay tuned for the next part.